Judges chapter 12. So we've learned about this guy named Jephthah, and he's won this great battle. The Lord has used him, and we see that there are other brothers in Israel that come out to argue with him. This chapter is very interesting because we hear about the Ephraimites. Now, to remind you, there was Ephraim and Manasseh. They were a picture of really two half-tribes. They were the sons of Joseph, who was one of the 12 sons of Jacob. And the Ephraimites, they seem to like contention. They seem to like to create animosity. And so back in chapter 8, you may remember, we read about them and they had some arguments with Gideon, and Gideon was able to talk them out of their frustration by using wit and tact and saying, hey guys, listen, I didn't mean to exclude you or whatnot, just all that jazz. Now in chapter 12, Jephthah is unable to do this and they end up fighting. So I just want to give you some context with this. God has used Jephthah to defeat the enemies of Israel, and then other people in Israel are upset that they weren't included, and so they want to come and fight Jephthah. They actually want to kill him. We'll read. It's kind of wild, but here we go. Verse 1. The Ephraimite forces were called out, and they crossed over to Zaphon. They said to Jephthah, why did you go out to fight the Ammonites without calling us to go with you? We're going to burn down your house over your head. So he basically says, we're going to kill you. We're going to light your home on fire. We're going to light you on fire. They didn't just want to take him out of leadership. They wanted to take him out because he didn't include them. Verse 2, Jephthah answered, I and my people were engaged in a great struggle with the Ammonites. And although I called, you didn't save me out of their hands. He basically says, I did call you and you didn't come. When I saw that you wouldn't help, I took my life in my hands, and I crossed over to fight the Ammonites, and the Lord gave me the victory over them. Now, why have you come up today to fight me? He basically turns it right back at them and is like, hey guys, I did call. You didn't answer. You were too busy in your own world. You didn't show up, so I went and did what God called me to do, and God gave me the victory. Obviously, I didn't need you because I had God. Verse 4. Jephthah then called together the men of Gilead and fought against Ephraim. So, this time we see the Israelites do go to battle with one another. In prior times, they were able to talk each other down. This time, they were unable to do so, and war breaks out internally in Israel. It says that the Gileadites, or those led by Jephthah, struck them down because the Ephraimites had said, you Gileadites are renegades from Ephraim and Manasseh. Okay, so to give you a little more context in this, they started throwing and hurling insults. There were disagreements, if you will, between the tribes because 2.5 of the tribes stayed on one half of the Jordan River, and then the other tribes went to the other side of the Jordan River, and that would create some animosity and tensions in the future. It would create some opportunities for division and name calling. Here we see this name calling take place when they call them renegades, or I think vagabonds might be a term that's used as well. And it turns into this bloody mess. Verse 5, the Gileadites captured the fords of the Jordan leading to Ephraim. And whenever a survivor of Ephraim said, let me cross over, the men of Gilead asked him, are you an Ephraimite? If he replied no, they said, all right, say Shibboleth. Now, because of their dialects that took place in Israel, there were different dialects of the same language, they would say Sibboleth. They didn't pronounce the sh properly because of their dialect. So they used this as a test to determine who was an Ephraimite and who was not. And if you could not pronounce the word correctly, they seized them and killed them at the fords of the Jordan. 42,000 Ephraimites were killed at that time. So this fight, God had delivered Jephthah and the Israelites from the hands of the Ammonites, and then the Ephraimites, Israelites, come and fight their own brothers, and 42,000 people die over an argument of ego. The principle for you and I today is this: don't let your ego get in the way. Don't make it all about you. Don't make it all about me. At the end of the day, there's so many things in this world that people are divided over and fight over that really aren't that big of a deal. So they weren't in the battle. Who cares? God won the battle. At the end of the day, God went before them and they were preserved. It's a dangerous place when it all becomes about making our own name great, or making sure that we are included, or making sure that we are promoted. That's a danger that's highlighted to us here in the scripture in the life of Jephthah. It says that he led Israel 6 years. Then Jephthah the Gileadite died and was buried in a town in Gilead. After him, we're going to read about 3 individuals real quick. After him, Ibzan of Bethlehem led Israel. He had 30 sons and 30 daughters. That's a lot of kids. He gave his daughters away in marriage to those outside his clan, and for his sons, he brought in 30 young women as wives from outside his clan. Ibzan led Israel 7 years. Then Ibzan died and was buried in Bethlehem. What's interesting is it talks about how he was a judge in the land, but it doesn't say anything that he did. And it's really fascinating because he had 30 sons, he had 30 daughters, he had an incredibly large family, and God had blessed him to be able to have that, and that's awesome. But you don't hear anything that he did. You don't hear anything that he accomplished, and it's very interesting because it speaks of him only historically. We read of these 2 others. After him, Elon the Zebulunite led Israel 10 years. Then Elon died and was buried in Ajalon in the land of Zebulun. Okay, that's literally it. That's all it says of Elon, that he led for 10 years. And then after him, Abdon, son of Hillel from Parathon, led Israel. He had 40 sons and 30 grandsons and rode on 70 donkeys. He led Israel 8 years. Then Abdon, son of Hillel, died and was buried at Parathon in Ephraim in the hill country of the Amalekites. So we have 3 guys in a row that are listed that have leadership of 7 years, 10 years, and 8 years. So for 25-year period of history, there's no great exploit. There's no battle spoken of like Jephthah or Gideon, or even as we're about to learn about Samson in the next chapter. You just hear about their reign. And it's interesting because you can infer that 2 different ways. We're going to go down both just for kicks and giggles. You could say, well, obviously the land was at peace because there was no great exploit. And it's a valid argument. Maybe they were just leaders who kept things at peace. Maybe they just led well and everything was all great. Or some have argued as they study the word that these individuals, these men, didn't step up or were focused on other things, and because they were focused on other things, they weren't focused on things that God may have had for them. For example, some people will make this argument that the individual with 30 sons and 30 daughters, he was so focused on his family that he wasn't able to give attention to leading the nation. The Bible talks about how he gave his daughters away to people outside his clan, and he brought in people from outside his clan for his sons to marry. And you find this situation where basically they argue he was so focused on family that he wasn't able to focus on the things of God. Is that true? I don't know, but it's an interesting perspective for us to ponder and look at our own lives and ask the question, God, is there something that's so consuming my attention that I'm not giving you the attention that you deserve? And that's a personal question. That's a balanced question that only you and I can answer in our walk with God. Am I focused too much on work? Am I focused too much on family? Am I focused too much on friends? Am I focused too much on my hobbies? Am I not focused enough on God? And that's the balance that we have to ride out, if you will, in life. And I believe that if we seek God and we ask God to help give us balance, to help give us understanding, to help give us a healthy ebb and flow, He'll help us to get there. And so maybe this video is for you. Maybe you've been struggling with balance in your life. Maybe God wanted to use Judges 12 to talk with you today about having a healthy balance in your walk with Him and a healthy balance in every area of your life. God uses His word to speak to His kids because He loves us. He's the perfect Father. Be blessed today.